Today's call is now being recorded.
Okay, so you see under my camera, just a piece of paper. I've got my scissors and I've got a ruler. Now, I told you yesterday, engineers measure in inches. So on a ruler, most school rulers have two sides. Inches, which goes from 0 to 12, and then metric, which is in centimeters, that goes from 0 to 30. All right. Well, we're not measuring in the metric system in here. We're going to be measuring in inches. So every time you pick up a ruler, make sure you go to that inch spot. Now, if you look, no matter where you are in the world, an inch is an inch. So from 0 to 1 on any ruler in the world is going to be the same distance. However, if you look, there's smaller spaces in between. So they want to be more accurate with their measuring. And if I put my finger on the 0 and I start to count the number of spaces or sections or slices, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to make it so it's not blurry. Come on, zoom in. Yeah. Well, there's 16. So if you were to count the number of sections from the 0 to the 1, there's going to be 16. So we're going to be measuring in sixteenths. So the first line would be 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, 4/16, 5, 6, 7, 8/16, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16/16 is reduced to 1. So whenever we're talking measurements, we're talking sixteenths. So if you had a measurement that was 7 lines after the 8, that would be 8 and 7/16. I wish this would zoom in. So there's 8 inches. So if you had a measurement on your ruler that was this far, it would be 8 and then 7/16 of an inch. So we need to be able to talk the same procedure. Now to create the strip of paper, the directions that will be up on the board later say just take a piece of scrap paper. You can use that colored paper I put in your folder. And all you're going to do is just cut a strip of it. Doesn't have to be pretty. I'm just trying to make a flexible strip of paper that I can use to put marks on it where my fins are going to go. So that's the first step, just to cut a strip of paper. The second step says to take your bottle. Again, you're going to want to take the wrap off. And you're going to put the piece of paper around your bottle, around the circumference, because that's what we're trying to figure out, where you want the fins to go. So we also talked yesterday, would you rather fins lower on the bottle or higher on the bottle? And I think we decided that closer to the drinking part is best to keep it balanced and stable. So you're going to wrap this paper around. Now, if you notice, the paper's too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little mark with a pencil or a pair of scissors or a marker, and I'm going to put a little mark where they cross. Okay, so this cross is right there. I'm going to put a little mark, and then I'm going to take my pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut my piece of paper right along that mark. All right, so step 2 was to take your piece of paper, wrap it around the bottle where you want those fins to go, put a little mark where they overlap, and then cut it. So right now, this piece of paper is, it's close enough, is the circumference of my bottle. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take our ruler. I got to go get a pen or pencil. And you're going to measure that piece of paper. So I want to know how long that strip of paper is. So I put my 0 on one end of the paper. And when I measure, let me see if I can hold this up. Put my 0 on one end of the paper. and I'm measuring how long this piece of paper is. Want it to come into focus for you. And if you notice, it's one line short of 8 inches. So this bottle is 7 15/16. Okay, if I were to count how many lines it is after the 7, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm going to write that on my piece of paper, 7 15/16. And that's how you write a mixed number. That tells me that it's 7 whole inches and 15/16 after. So basically it's 15 lines after the 7. It's not 8. It's almost 8, but it's not 8. Then what you're going to do is you are going to tell me how many fins you want. I will do the math for you. So I know that your bottle is going to be 7 15/16 or whatever size you tell me. And then I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to put in 7 15/16, which as a decimal is 7.9375. You tell me you want 4 fins. So I'm going to take the size of my bottle and I'm going to divide that by 4. And I get 1.98. And I'm going to tell you that you're going to put a mark on this piece of paper every 1 15/16. So I'm going to do the math for you. You're going to cut a strip of paper. You're going to wrap it around your bottle where you want your fins to go. Where it overlaps, you're going to put a mark and you're going to cut it. So the goal is to have your strip of paper be the distance around your bottle. And that's the circumference. Then you're just going to take a ruler and you're going to measure how long that piece of paper is. Remember, we're talking 16ths. If it's 3 lines past 8, it's going to be 8 3/16. And you're going to write that on your paper. Then you're going to unmute yourself and you're going to say, okay, Mr. Blanchette, my rocket, the bottle's 8 3/16 and I want 5 fins. And I will do the math for you. And I will tell you how far apart your marks have to be. So right now, I know that on this piece of paper, I need a mark every 1 15/16. So that is right there. 15 lines after the 1. I'm going to move my ruler because from that mark, I need a fin 1 15/16 away. I'm going to put my mark. I'm going to move my ruler because I need a fin 1 15/16 away. And there's my marks. I'm going to have a fin at this dot, this dot, this dot, and where the paper meets. So the last step is to wrap it around and to tape it on there. Put a little piece of tape so that it doesn't fall off. And then you're going to transfer. I'm going to have a fin right there. I'm going to have a fin right there. I'm going to have a fin right there. And I'm going to have a fin right there. And once that's done, you can throw away your mark, your piece of paper. So I've got my bottle with 1, 2, 3, 4 equally spaced fins. And that's kind of what we're trying to do today. So let me go back to my computer. I'm going to turn this off. I'll unmute myself there. Let me share what I call the to-do list. Okay. And this will be on your screen always. So in a minute, I'm going to put this to-do list up on the screen, and you're going to notice that everything I just told you verbally and visually, and I will put that video Probably by 10:30, that video of how to do that will be online. Why is my presentation not showing up? Do you guys see that? Okay, here we go. There's the to-do list. So what I just did was step 3, how to construct a paper ruler, attach it to the bottle, and get the dots onto the bottle from your piece of paper. The first thing I did, 3A, was to cut a strip of paper. The second thing I did was 3B. I wrapped the piece of paper around the bottle. I marked where it overlapped. And then I cut the paper to the exact size, the circumference of the bottle. And this is where I try to teach you to do one step at a time. Do not try to do 3A, B, C, and D at once. Read 3A and then do it. Then read 3B and treat it as a totally separate problem. Matter of fact, 3B has 3 separate problems in it. Number 1 is to wrap it around the bottle. Step 2, or the problem number 2, is to mark it where it overlaps. And problem number 3 is to cut it to size. So right there, just in one step, there's 3 problems you need to solve. If kids can take things one step or one problem at a time, it makes things a lot easier. Then you're going to measure the length of the paper, because that is the size around your bottle, the circumference, and you're going to write that size down. Remember, we're using inches, so it's very easy. It's going to be a certain number of whole inches, and then more than likely a few lines after. And every single line is a 16th. So if it's 5 lines after the 6, it's 6 5/16. And then you can just unmute yourself or go to the chat and tell me how big your paper is and how many fins you want. And I will do the math for you to separate it up into the number of fins.